Welcome everyone to the annual meeting for the League of Women Voters of Ventura County. I'm Betsy Patterson, current president of the League. And at this point, I would like to just welcome you and ask if you don't mind to mute your audio if you're not a speaker or speaking right now. And the second part that we will be doing right now is I'm going to let you know what we'll be covering this morning. We will start out with our guest speaker, Erik Nasarenko, our Ventura County District Attorney. Then we will call our business meeting to order, and we will have an annual review and the proposed local programs. We will not be breaking out into breakout rooms to discuss the programs because everyone should hear what the discussion is. And then we will move on to the proposed bylaws changes, the budget, the slate of officers and directors, the nominating committee, and then welcome our scholarship recipients and recognize the past board and welcome the new board. And so at this point, I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Erik Nasarenko. I'm going to give you a little bit of background. Erik Nasarenko was appointed district attorney by a 5-0 vote of the Ventura County Board of Supervisors on January 26, 2021. He became Ventura County's 24th district attorney. Prior to his appointment, Mr. Nasarenko served and protected Ventura County as a senior deputy district attorney. He was named Prosecutor of the Year in 2016 by the Ventura County District Attorney for his advocacy on behalf of children, women, and sexual assault victims. Mr. Nasarenko began his career as a Ventura County prosecutor in 2008. In addition to his prosecutorial responsibilities, he served on the Ventura City Council from 2013 to 2021 as a council member and as deputy mayor in 2013 and mayor in 2015. He grew up in the San Fernando Valley and graduated from the University of California, Irvine, where he studied history and played Division I intercollegiate soccer. While working as communications director in the Pasadena Unified School District, he earned his law degree in 2006 from Loyola Law School at Loyola Marymount University. Mr. Nasarenko is married and has 2 school-aged children who apparently also like to play soccer on Saturdays. We are happy to welcome you to our meeting, and I will turn the Zoom over to you. Where are you, Erik?
Can you see me, Betsy? And can everyone hear me all right?
Yeah, I'm going to spotlight you right now. There you go.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that introduction. All of it is true. You know, that picture that you had up of me, I've had a few gray hairs since that time. That was from 2013 when I was first elected to the Ventura City Council. This is a great honor to be before the League of Women Voters. And Betsy, I want to thank you for inviting me. I want to begin by telling you something that's very timely to the office. I had about 5 retirements in 4 days. And, you know, this is an office of 288 individuals, about 103 of whom are attorneys. And, you know, when 5 people announced that they are retiring, in part, I think, because kind of, you know, people understood during COVID that there was life outside of work. I think it opened up a lot of horizons in the right way. But, you know, these 5 individuals, they represented collectively about 200 and 250 years of experience in this office. They were veterans. So right now we are in a very robust hiring period. And I want to start there by sharing with you my vision for who I'd like to bring in to the office of the district attorney, because it says a little bit about me, who I want to represent all of you as prosecutors. I drew up a list of about 24 attributes for potential hires. And among them, I want to bring in more people of color. I'd like to bring in more women. I've also asked that in the interview stage, after they come through that initial round, that we inquire whether or not they came from a underserved community, whether or not they have a track record of public service to communities of color, to helping the disadvantaged, to socioeconomically distressed communities. And why do I think that's important? I mean, obviously, I want people who are professional speakers, who can write well, who understand the core mission of being a prosecutor. But I also think all those attributes that I just mentioned to you will inform that process and that decision-making undertaking. I really want to bring into this office attorneys who represent a cross-section of our county. And to that end, I want to bring in more attorneys, frankly, who come from Ventura County. Specifically, in about a week and a half, I will be bringing in a Filipino American who is currently a prosecutor in Northern California. He grew up in Oxnard. He comes out of the Filipino American community, and he also speaks that language, and he's a graduate of a local high school. I just think his experiences, what he saw growing up in Oxnard, his relationships with the community will just make for a more well-rounded and balanced prosecutor. So I wanted to begin there because we've been vetting candidates, talking about what attributes.
Yeah, I got my agenda. Thank you.
We want in our prosecutors. And obviously this is something that we will be really taking a lot of pains and an effort in the weeks and months to come. And it also occurred to me upon the appointment that we needed to retain those prosecutors and employees that we had already. Specifically, it was brought to my attention that days past, if a prosecutor wanted to go on maternity leave, she had 7 months in which to take a leave and no more than 7 months. However, the memorandum of understanding with our employee groups said you can take up to 1 year, So one of the first things I did is I said, well, you know what? We want to honor professional and working moms. We want them to be able to bond and be with their children, particularly after childbirth. We also want our female employees to come back into this office and feel that they are welcome. So I went ahead and I did away with that 7-month cap. I said, you know what, if the memorandum of understanding allows for 1 year, we should go ahead and on a case-by-case basis, grant that 1 year. And then to that same point, it also came to my attention that, you know, when a mom returns and they are breastfeeding, that they need some type of designated space for lactation purposes and just to be able to do so in privacy. So we are now in an effort to dedicate a specific section of the office as a mother's resource center. This will be an area wherein both expecting and new moms with privacy and hopefully with accommodation can go ahead and make whatever adjustments they need. So, you know, I'm talking a lot about internal changes, but I want to start there because I think it's important that you have the most qualified, most well-rounded and balanced prosecutors and attorneys and support staff and investigators, but also that you make sure that you retain them and that they feel welcome and nurtured here. You know, when I first came in to the office, I looked at what was called our legal policies manual. And this is an overarching document for the DA's office in terms of our legal policies. And one of those policies said in writing that diversion is disfavored by the district attorney as an alternative sentence. Now, that didn't sit well with me. One, the law now allows for judges on their own initiative unilaterally to grant diversion in some cases. But also, I just believe in 2021, with what we know about the criminal justice system, that diversion, when appropriate, makes sense. We have to understand the long stain of a criminal conviction or just what happens to someone when they enter the criminal justice system. Missed work, childcare issues, obviously continuances in court, even more exacerbated during COVID. So if you have a low-level misdemeanor, let's say it's a drug offense. Let's say it's a theft offense. Maybe it's a trespass. I think, depending on their age and their record, that diversion is indeed a suitable and appropriate alternative recommendation. You have the ability, both the DA and the judge, to rehabilitate, to reform, to educate somebody. So if the judge, in concert with the public defender or defense attorney, and the DA says, I want to divert you to the following sober living facility, or you need to take the following cognitive restructuring classes, come back in 6 months, show me that you've done all of the above, and you will suffer no conviction. To the contrary, your conviction will go ahead and be dismissed. You will have no record. I think in appropriate circumstances, depending on the offense, that is the right way to go. I just think that that is what we want in our county, in our society. We want individuals who are taxpaying, who are productive, who are engaged with their communities and their families. And if we can get them the help and assistance they need early, I think ultimately we can go ahead and reduce recidivism and, to that end, incarceration. When I got the appointment, I pledged to the Board of Supervisors, as well as a number of other individuals who helped me in that endeavor, that I would be engaged with the county. That is, I would be a district attorney who would be in neighborhoods, at city councils, speaking to school district leaders, engaging Rotaries, law enforcement, the business community. And I'm proud to say that that's exactly what we have done. It's great to have this lifting of COVID. After this League of Women Voters virtual discussion, I will go out to Simi Valley and I'll engage some folks from the East County at a picnic. And then later I'll be going to an event in Ventura. But I really think that in 2021, you know, the DA cannot be somebody who just sits in the office and just kind of is in the courthouse all the time, every day, each day of the week. I really believe that part of our mission is to be in communities, to hear from communities of color, to hear from law enforcement, to hear from everybody about the challenges they're facing. And why do I think that's so important? Because this is how law enforcement and prosecutors build trust and confidence in who they are and what they do. I'm just a big believer in these, I call them micro contacts, these kind of everyday encounters where we learn, we absorb, we listen, we distill. You know, in some cases, we have to clarify and provide accurate information. All the more important in what I consider to be this kind of very uncertain era of social media, where disinformation, politicization, and just frankly, hysteria is too much part of our communication channel rather than what we're doing right now. So it's nice to have rational and sound conversations when indeed everyone is able to do so. So I've spoken to 5 city councils. I will speak to the remaining 5 thereafter. I will talk to school districts about restorative justice practices. I also believe, you know, I'll give you a specific example because I know this was addressed in one of your questions. When people talk about restorative justice, I'll give you an example of what we'll be doing here in the Ventura County DA's office with respect to juvenile offenders. You know, this started actually in Yolo County in Sacramento and spread elsewhere, and it's very much being used now in the city of LA. When you have a juvenile offender, you necessarily don't bring them through the judicial process, but you bring them through a community neighborhood-based process wherein they actually are in a room with a mediator or a probation officer, and they learn firsthand from the victim the harm they've caused, both to that victim. It could be a shop owner who has suffered a theft. It could be a storm drain that was graffitied, and you'll hear from, you know, Public Works who has to clean it up. It could be somebody who was the victim of a battery, who is talking about, you know, the injuries, both physical and mental. And the idea is you have an exchange between the parties, and the offender understands the harm they've caused, the trauma they have inflicted. And the whole idea, again, is to make sure that, particularly at that very young age, they understand that they are going down a path that endangers others, including themselves, that hurts the neighborhoods they live in. And ultimately, what we want is for them to understand and comprehend their wrongdoing so they don't do it again. This is a program that we'll be working with probation and also some nonprofit providers to allow our juvenile offenders to take advantage of. But I think it's really important. And then I want to talk a little bit about something that's very important to me, and that's the area of mental health and the profound intersection between mental health and the criminal justice system. I had a family member who sadly has passed, who suffered from mental illness as well as addiction, so it's also very personal to me. But I also have seen in my 13 years in this profession, the repetitive cycle of individuals who suffer from mental illness coming in and out of jail, the cycle of arrest, confinement, release, arrest, confinement, release, almost ad nauseum. And one of the proposals that I made to the board, and I've also made to community groups, is to make sure that we have in this office a dedicated and specialized mental health unit. And I'm very proud to say, thanks to our Ventura County Board of Supervisors, in their recent budget, as you may have read, they appropriated to the Ventura County District Attorney's Office 2 attorney positions for the purpose of assisting mentally ill and mentally distressed offenders. Kind of a landmark opportunity for us. And also, as you may have read, they have expanded Hillmont, which has inpatient psychiatric units, to its maximum of 43 beds. That's up from 36. And they've also created what are known as crisis stabilization chairs, or wellness areas for those suffering from mental distress. This is all part of what I consider to be in our county a greater push and acknowledgement that we have to treat through intervention, support, and assistance those who are suffering from mental illness. Now, I understand there are going to be those who commit very heinous, serious offenses, and they may have been driven to do so by schizophrenia, by bipolarity. And in those cases, we may not be able to go ahead and immediately find a alternative or suitable placement. We can't jeopardize public safety in this endeavor. But nevertheless, what I want to do is, and I'll just give you an example. We have in our office every year, 14 to 15,000 misdemeanors that come in, just a massive amount. And in the past, individuals within the office would get petitions for what's called mental health diversion. Rather than go ahead and suffer a conviction, as I talked about before, can we divert them? What does that look like? Is there a nexus between the crime and the mental illness? This is what the law requires. And also you have to entertain, well, what's the treatment plan? And the judge ultimately is the one who approves it. But in the past, that was kind of spread out among all the different misdemeanor attorneys. I want to take those cases and put them in this dedicated unit so that they understand and have the expertise, one, to assess whether or not this is indeed a DSM based mental illness, whether or not there is a satisfactory treatment plan. And there's a bit of a paradigm shift, at least I'm trying to instill it in my office. I don't want us to kind of just sit back and say nothing. I also don't want us to just be in opposition all the time. I actually want us to be part of the conversation with behavioral health, with the psychiatric community. Here is this individual's disability. Here is their mental infirmity. And this is what I am recommending, Judge. This is what I am recommending, defense counsel. I think this outpatient or this medication assisted treatment, this psychotropic drug, this is what I think will help reduce, one, incarceration in the future, and also ultimately reduce recidivism, that is this person from reoffending. So it's kind of a new paradigm shift, if you will, among prosecutors. And obviously this unit will be responsible for it. But, we're sort of conditioned to, here's our case. What's the appropriate punitive sentence? What's the term of probation? What are some sort of stay away terms or restitution? And I think in many cases that is indeed appropriate and it should remain. But in other cases, I want us to be part of the conversation where we're actually saying, this is what this person needs to get well and protect the community. Here's the court's involvement. I'd like to see if the court is amenable. This number of periodic checks by either behavioral health or court check-ins. I want to make sure that they're taking their medication. They have to attend outpatient. They have to have a proof of such. In order for us to really engage in the treatment of mentally ill offenders, we have to understand it. We have to realize that there are treatments other than incarceration. And we also just have to be open-minded. Some of those treatments exist and they won't jeopardize public safety. I've said a lot already. I'm sure you have a number of questions about topics I've raised, as well as some other topics that are on your mind. But I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. It's just, a real pleasure to speak to the league. I hope to do so in person at a point in the future that's convenient and safe to do so. And Betsy, thank you very much for the opportunity to address you and to answer questions.
Thank you, Erik. And Maddie, I think you maybe had a couple of questions. If you have a chance to stay for a few minutes more and answer one or two questions that we had, would that be possible, Erik?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, Maddie, you're on.
Okay, well, thank you so much, District Attorney Nasarenko. We do have a couple of questions that some of our members have submitted. And, thank you so much for joining us. This was really very interesting, and it's so good to hear what your plans are for the office. One of the things that we were wondering about was how do DAs across the state work on shared legislation and projects of mutual benefit?
Yeah.
And we know that, a couple of your fellow DAs are being recalled as well. Do you have any opinion on that?
I am not a huge proponent of recall efforts. I think they're costly, frankly. I think they're disruptive. They appear to be in many ways sort of dominated by a very vocal minority. Nevertheless, I understand that the law and the Constitution allow for it. It's economically burdensome also to counties and to the state. To answer your question, and thank you, Maddie, we do have an association. It's called the California District Attorneys Association, which is a statewide network of most DAs. There are a couple that were a part of it that are no longer. And boy, every day I get updates on legislation, proposed bills in Sacramento. There was a proposal by prison officials to grant early release to some serious and violent offenders. That was a very kind of controversial topic that was discussed by myself and a number of DAs, in fact, 43 others statewide. Essentially what happened here is the proposal to grant early release was done without any public deliberation, without any notification to victims. It just wasn't in any way transparent and open. So I joined them in opposition. So that's one specific area where I work very closely with them. Here in Ventura County, it's interesting. I would say that probably my closest relationship so far, and I've only been in the job 5 months, with Joyce Dudley in Santa Barbara. I've also gotten to appear virtually with Dan Dow of San Luis Obispo. We sort of have that tri-county connection in Ventura County with SLO in Santa Barbara. And I'll just give you one specific example. Congressman Carbajal, who represents the tri-county area, he hosts on a quarterly basis a discussion where he will speak to the chiefs of police, the sheriffs, and the DAs about legislation in Washington to get our input, to sort of use us as sounding boards. So in terms of my conversations with other DAs, Maddie, I would say it's probably somewhat with the association, but it's more regional in its approach.
Okay, well, that's great. Sounds like a good way to go. One of the other things that we were wondering about was what are your thoughts on bail reform?
Yeah, great question. There was a California Supreme Court opinion that came out not too long ago. I want to say maybe about 2 months ago. The name of the defendant in that case was Humphreys. And basically what the court said is, monetary bail should not be the default. It should no longer be the starting position. In fact, just the opposite. Judges, when somebody is in custody, you need to look for non-financial terms and conditions for release. So what does that look like? That may be, electronic monitoring, otherwise known as an ankle bracelet. That may be, we need to have periodic checks by law enforcement or probation officials. You need to not use any drugs or narcotics. You need to surrender your firearms as a condition of your release. My own personal opinion is I like the way we had done it in Ventura County. This was actually a reform put in place by the courts as well as by probation. And what it was is a pretrial risk assessment. What it meant by that is the probation officials would look at each individual and they would come up with metrics that would essentially help the judge determine whether or not they were, one, a flight risk, that is high potential to abscond from Ventura County jurisdiction, or whether or not they posed a public safety or community risk. So they would actually have a numeric system. Are they suffering from addiction or mental distress? Are they employed or are they not? How many previous offenses do they have? What is the severity of the existing offense? How long have they lived in Ventura County? Do they have homes or are they unhoused? So this metric would determine whether or not someone was at risk of leaving the jurisdiction or at risk of harming others if they got out. I actually like that model a little bit better than the one proposed in Humphreys, but nevertheless, Humphreys is now the law of the land and it's the one that we abide by.
Okay. Let's see, I think we might have time for one more. So this one's kind of general. It's essentially, what is the DA's relationship with the police and the sheriff's departments?
It's a close relationship, but at the same time, also it's relationship wherein we actively review and in some cases have to scrutinize what they have done. So we work in collaboration, obviously, because they bring to us cases for consideration of criminal charges. They are our witnesses. We have deep and strong partnerships with both the sheriff's office as well as our municipal police agencies. And that's as it should be. I really believe that we in Ventura County are blessed with just very brave and talented men and women in law enforcement. Nevertheless, there are going to be situations where if there's a use of force or an officer involved shooting, or if there's some type of misconduct, either on duty or not, where we have to become involved. We have to determine whether or not there was a crime. And if so, our position is not to take sides. It's to see if there's facts and evidence to warrant criminal charges. And if they exist in cases, whoever the defendant is, we will appropriately file.
Okay, sorry. Well, thank you so very much. We really appreciate you being here, especially on a Saturday. I know you have, other things and other places to be as well. And we really enjoyed listening to you. And I guess we look forward to hopefully seeing you again when we have our series of local elected officials speaking to the community. And it's been really wonderful. So Betsy, you want to take it back?
Sure. Thank you very much. Erik, again, it's a delight. And yes, if we could all clap, that would be great, except that we're all muted. So everybody just put your hands up, clap like that. Okay, so I think at this point, our next thing is Maddie's going to bring up our agenda. So at this point, this is our agenda, and we will need, we are going to officially call the meeting to order. I want to acknowledge our technological assistance with Maddie doing background with the slide presentations, and Barbara Doyle is our parliamentarian and has also been admitting people from the waiting room. And when we do votes, this is an example of a vote, we will be voting with a poll. So if you have any questions or problems with that, please try to ask them in the agenda. The one other thing I'll ask is if we can, again, stay muted unless you have something that you are supposed to be saying, so that we can get through our meeting. So at this point, I would like to move on to the motion. And Judy Murphy, can you unmute yourself to read the motion, please?
I move to adopt the agenda for the annual meeting as presented on the previous slide.
Do I hear a
I
second?
second.
Okay, thank you very much,
second it.
Pat. And is there any discussion or amendments to the agenda? You, of course, if you had any, you would unmute. Hearing none, I am going to now start a poll for this motion, which is I move to adopt the agenda for the annual meeting as presented on the previous slide. If you can just vote on that, we will give you a good minute or so to do your, there are 3 co-hosts who have already voted yes. So we have adopted the agenda for the meeting, and we will go on to the next business. Barbara Doyle, can you unmute and tell us whether we have a quorum?
Yes, we have 31 voting members present. We have a quorum.
Excellent. And now, Barbara, will you state the, will you make, I need a motion for approving the annual meeting rules.
I move to adopt the annual meeting rules as presented in the call to annual meeting that we all received more than 21 days ago.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will launch the poll to accept this motion. So I'd like to share with you what we have done in 2020 and what we hope to do in 2021. Early in July, a group of league members met via Zoom with Ventura County Clerk, Recorder, and Registrar Mark Lunn and his elections office staff to learn about what to expect in the November election and how the league could help educate the public. As a result of that meeting, we created a 10-minute video explaining that all voters would receive their ballots in the mail. They could fill it out at home and return it in the mail or in a drop box, or they could vote in person at a vote center. We recommended they track their ballot via Where's My Ballot? Since high schools were all virtual last spring, we also created a 10-minute video on how to register to vote online, starring Pat Essick and her granddaughter, Bunny Smith, not her real name. We shared it with local high school teachers to help them register students to vote. The video was posted on our new YouTube channel, excuse me. Where is this not going here? Nope, go back, sorry. Yes. League members Carmen Hurd, Mulaney Ashen, and Marianne Ramos helped with in-person voting registration at high schools during the food drives. Kathy Morgan, Teresa Camarillo, and others offered voter registration forms and election information at food share sites throughout the county. We formed a media team to get out the vote with articles and letters to the editor about voting and current issues, as well as public service announcements in English and Spanish. We sold face masks, displayed our sandwich board wherever safe, and our voter bear posed at drop boxes and vote centers around the county. We shared his photos and other resources on Facebook, Twitter, and our website. David Marin, Pat Essick, and the Voter Services team hosted 22 candidate forums on Zoom, plus David and Judge Melinda Johnson reviewed all 12 ballot propositions. All of these recordings were available on our YouTube channel for anyone to watch. When the vote centers opened in person for voting for 4 days, we delivered thank you snacks and meals to the people working at each of the 47 sites. This was, as Mark Lund said, an election like no other. In January, Karen Savitt coordinated legislative interviews with the recently elected state and congressional officials, collaborating with the Los Angeles and Santa Barbara Leagues since we share officials except for Jackie Irwin and Julia Brownlee. We asked each official questions about climate change and land use, housing and homelessness solutions, racial justice and policing reform, and how to achieve an equitable economic recovery post-COVID. They also had a chance to share their personal legislative priorities. In March, Chris Carson, a California League redistricting advisor, explained redistricting and why it is important, especially for fair representation in local elections. Her presentation can be found on our website and on YouTube. Meet the Members continued on Zoom this year, hosted by Pat Butler and now Maddie Park on the first Wednesday of the month at 6:30, and by Kay Armstrong on the third Wednesday at 5:30. We hope to resume in-person meetings soon. Our scholarship award recipient this year is Shay Travers from Ventura College. You will meet her later today. So what is in store for the future? At the state convention this June, the Leagues of California adopted these programs for the next 2 years. As always, making democracy work is a priority, but they added civics to the program. They made water the focus for the climate change and sustainability, and housing and homelessness and criminal justice reform were adopted. In January, we held our program planning meeting, and based on our membership survey, we selected your top 6 priorities to recommend for our local league for the coming year. Making democracy work by assuring fair elections and access to voting was a top priority, and we are encouraging voters to work at a poll or in the elections office to better understand the process of elections and to see how fair and transparent our elections are. The media team is looking for ways to counteract mis- and disinformation and restore trust in facts and science. We ask you to think sheep before sharing on social media. Check out the frequently asked questions page on our website to learn about voting, elections, the legislative process, and more. League members who worked at the polls found that many voters did not know much about our elections and how they work or our government. Improving civics education seemed urgent. This spring, we partnered with a Girl Scout troop in Simi Valley as they began to earn their Inside Government Junior Badge. We began learning about national and state projects directed at improving civics engagement. Last September, the California Department of Education rolled out the State Seal of Civic Engagement, awarded to students who demonstrate excellence in civics education, but also participate in local community projects that address real-world problems. The Palo Alto League partnered with 2 high schools to create a student-led high school civic engagement club. The league provided advice and guidance, but the students created their own civic engagement projects. Last summer, our racial and social justice group watched movies about racism in the United States, followed by a weekly discussion on Zoom. We also read books and articles and continued the discussion on how we could be allies rather than part of the problem. Our league was a sponsor of this year's Juneteenth celebration in Oxnard, and the Racial and Social Justice Committee, led by Kay Armstrong, hopes to focus on registering and engaging voters in underrepresented communities. Our Climate Change Committee, led by Wayne Morgan, has been studying the issues that most affect California and Ventura County and hopes to educate the public on the urgent need to take action now. Our Housing and Homelessness Committee will be following countywide efforts on transitional and affordable housing, partnering with community organizations working on these issues. So why should you get involved? There are many urgent issues that need your help, whether it's saving our democracy, restoring trust in facts, engaging in elections, or working on local issues in Ventura County. If you get involved, you can make a difference. Greta Thunberg says, hope comes from action. If you don't want to feel terrified or worried or scared, the only thing you can do is take action. No one is too small to make a difference. At this time, I would like to recognize, whoops, I lost my page. Acknowledge some special recognitions. Carol Lindbergh received the Legacy Award for Community Service from the City of Ventura. The U.S. Census Bureau recognized our league members for their efforts in the 2020 census count. And finally, we mourn the passing of longtime members Eunice Koch and Francis Gagola, who were both engaged in our work for many decades. They will be missed. Thank you for joining us today, and please join in our many activities in the coming year. And we are back. Oh, thank you all. Let me get back to my agenda here. Okay. So at this point, these are our proposed programs: voting in fair elections, making democracy work in California, mis and disinformation, restoring trust in facts, improving civics education, K-12 and beyond, racial and social justice, climate change, and housing homelessness. Maddie, next slide. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Ventura County Board, I move to adopt the proposed local programs as presented on the previous slide and the call to the annual meeting. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
And at this point, I would like to open this up to discussion. If there are people who would like to comment or ask questions, please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question. You just have to speak up if you would like to ask any questions. I don't.
Hi, new member Ashley.
Yes, Ashley.
This is a lot. Do you normally take on this many things for your programs?
Well, since the dictator has been in charge, yes, we've been forced to take on a lot of activities. No, there's just a lot to be done and a lot of interest in a variety of activities. And so we have formed committees to try to address these issues so that just not the same single people take on all of these activities. So yes, sometimes we have fewer activities. This year, we seem to have a lot. Any other questions? Okay, that being said, there's a motion on the floor in a second. I am going to launch the poll to
Would some of these committees like to have some new members? If somebody watching this would like to contact the chairs, could they do that?
they can do that, or they can just email us at info@lwvventuracounty.org, our email address, and we will get them to the committee chairs that are needed. Here's the results of our votes, and it looks as if we have approved our local program. Oops, sorry, it looks as if we've approved our local programs, and we will get to work soon.
So Betsy, do you have the vote count there too?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
So the actual number is 24 plus at least the 3 more, so it's 27. There are 2 non-voting members that that voted here. And next we move to the bylaws. So Pat Butler.
Yes. This year we have 4 proposed changes to the bylaws. Article 3, Section 2B, associate members. We want to clarify the definition of associate members. They are non-voting and are not in the League of Women Voters US database. These are people who very often sign up for just one particular activity that they want to participate in. The next proposed change is Article 4, Section 1, enumeration and election of officers. This change permits elected officers to serve for more than 2 consecutive years. The reason for this is that we have difficulty recruiting people to take the positions of officers. The next change is Article 5, Section 2, term of office. This permits elected directors to serve for more than 2 years consecutively. And again, we have sometimes difficulty recruiting a full board of directors. Article 7, Section 2, dues, changes the membership year to align with the fiscal year. Dues for 2021-22 will be prorated. The change takes effect July of 2022 for the 22-23 membership year. So this year you'll be asked to pay partial dues in September. On behalf of the Bylaws Committee, I move to adopt the proposed bylaw changes as presented on the previous slide and in the call to annual meeting.
Is there any discussion or does anyone have any questions that they would like to raise on this? Hearing no questions, we will move on to the vote on this. It looks like 88% have voted yes. Let me just say if I can share the results. Yeah, 88% have voted yes. There are 3 non-voting members, and we have some votes in the. We have 2 more votes in the chat. So the bylaws changes have passed.
Thank you.
Next, we will move on to the Budget Committee report, and that will be Cheryl Collard.
Good morning, League members. I would like to offer to you our budget for the 21-22 year. You received this budget and also our committee report in your annual call. Those are references page 6 and 7. And we are giving you the big picture here so that we can take action on this. The budget also corresponds to the activity calendar, which is included in your call. And we put a budget together based on what we think is going to be our ability to perform and produce. Obviously, we had some changes because of COVID, but we are a well-funded organization. We have generous support, and we are ready to move forward with the budget as you see before you.
Excellent. And Cheryl?
So on behalf of the Budget Committee, which includes Karen Savitt and Pat Butler and myself, we would like to move for the adoption of the budget as presented in the previous slide and also as you received in your call to the annual meeting.
And are there any questions, discussions? Please, as I said before, just unmute yourself and speak up if you have something you would like to ask or discuss about our planned budget.
How many scholarships are given for the $3,000 budget?
Currently, the scholarship committee makes those decisions, and the budget committee added some additional funds because we have funds available and felt that in the year of COVID, helping to support the scholarship committee move forward with possible other scholarships, we enrich that line item. So it'll be up to the scholarship committee how many scholarships are actually given, but we're trying to follow the direction of both the board over the course of this last year and then within our committee to simply enrich that line item so that additional scholarships could be made available if the scholarship committee moves forward with that.
Thank you.
And you will be hearing from the scholarship committee a little bit later on in this meeting, so you can hear more details. Any other questions or discussions? Hearing none, we will move on to this poll. Motion 5 on behalf of the Budget Committee, we move to adopt the budget as presented in the previous slide and in the call to the annual meeting. It looks as if we have gotten 92% saying yes. The other 8% are non-voting members, and then we have some votes in the chat that are voting yes also. So it looks as if our proposed budget has passed, and we will now move on. Next is the nominating committee, and Cheryl Collard is on again.
Thank you. And members, again, you have received in your annual call and your report from the nominating committee. And in this, excuse me, I'm sorry. Always when you get on, you have a cough. I'd like to note that the nominating committee included Pat Butler, Maddie Park, and Doris Similek, and we have worked diligently to go through both the board members as well as our entire membership to bring forward the names that you'll be seeing in these next couple of actions. So we would like to first start with the officer recommendations, our candidates for those who would be willing to be the leaders and continue with the League of Women Voters for the coming year would be President Betsy Patterson, Secretary Judy Murphy, and Treasurer Karen Sabat.
There's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Okay, and at this point, we'd like to open up the discussion. If there's any discussion or questions or nominations from the floor for any one of these positions of officers. So again, unmute yourself if you would like to nominate someone for one of these positions. Or if you have a question about what they do. Okay. Hearing none, I am going to go ahead and start the poll. At this point, it looks as if we have 92% voting yes and 8% who are not voting members. So the vote for the officers passed as nominated. Thank you. Next.
So, excuse me, our bylaws allow us to have up to 15 members to be part of our board of directors. So in addition to the officers, we canvassed our membership, and the committee is recommending the names that you see before you and that were listed in our call to the meeting. You'll see folks that are willing and able to be members of our board of directors for the coming year.
So do you want to state that motion?
So on behalf of the nominating
No.
committee.
Excuse me, Maddie, go back. Thank you. Go ahead. Cheryl.
On behalf of the nominating committee, I would like to move to elect the following candidates to the board of directors. That would be Kay Armstrong, Pat Butler, Patty Chan, Barbara Doyle, Pat Essick, Carol Lindberg, Pat Malchek, Kathy Morgan, Maddie Park, Jan Reaver, Jane Spiller, Trudy Wolf.
Okay, at this point, we open the floor. If there are any nominations from the floor who would like to serve on the board that are not in this list, or if you have questions about what the directors do, now is the time to ask your question.
I second the motion.
I think Pat Butler already seconded it, but maybe I didn't hear
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry. I didn't-
That's okay. Hearing no nominations from the floor, we will launch the poll on behalf of the nominating committee. Move to elect the following candidates as directors. And again, it looks as if we have the full results with 91% voting yes and 9% are not voting members. So we have 100% vote in favor. And we will move on now. Cheryl, you're up again.
And I would just like to say on behalf of the members to the board of directors and our officers, thank you for being willing to serve. You're doing an outstanding job and you're a great group. And it's always a pleasure as the nominating committee to reach out to all of our members, as many as we can, or have expressed interest who would like to be more directly involved with the league. They're great conversations, and I just like to encourage people to step up. You also will see in your call, we have included the names of the various chairs of the committees, and those are people you can contact if you'd like to be more involved. So that is just, it's great for people to step up, and no need to be shy. So with that, I'll move on to the role of the nominating committee. I do chair that, and our bylaws require us to elect people to be 2 board members and 2 members from the general membership, and the committee is chaired by a member of the general membership, not a board member. There's opportunity if someone else would like to serve. We will have that opportunity for you to speak up in this meeting, or you're certainly welcome to contact me during the course of the year if you'd like to serve. So at this time, we would be proposing the names of Cheryl Collard to chair the nominating committee, Doris Similek as a member, Pat Butler as a board member, and Maddie Park as a board member.
So Cheryl, can you read it as a motion?
On behalf of the nominating committee, I move to elect the following candidates to the nominating committee: Chair Cheryl Collard, Doris Similek, member, Pat Butler, board member, Maddie Park, board member.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
At this point, we would like to open the floor to anyone who would like to volunteer or nominate someone to be on the nominating committee, because we can use one more general member on this committee. So if you would like to nominate yourself and speak up and help out with this committee, now is the time to please speak up. I'm going to launch the poll.
I see someone that wanted
Yes.
to sign up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, well, Don Gray. Okay, so let me change this. In the poll there. Let me go back. 8A. Okay, so I'm sorry. This is a little bit tricky about how we figured out how to do this. I'm going to ask that we vote on the members that were presented here. And then the next motion will be to accept Don Gray as an additional general member to the nominating committee. Will that be okay? So I'm going to relaunch this poll. Yeah, relaunch the poll. We're voting on the ones that were presented, and then we will vote to accept Don Gray as another member of this committee. Thank you very much, Dan, for noticing that. It's hard to see what's going on sometimes. Okay, it looks as if we have overwhelming acceptance of these committee members. And now I will go to the, and I will hopefully have somebody read this motion. Cheryl.
I'll make the motion that we nominate Don Gray to be a general member of the nominating committee for the coming year.
Is there a second? Oh, we don't have,
I second.
we maybe don't have to have second from the committee. Okay, here's the opportunity to vote for Don Gray, even though her name is not mentioned here. We all know that it's Don who has nobly stepped up and volunteered to help with this committee. And we truly appreciate that, Dawn. And it looks like we're almost done here, not quite done. Getting close. Okay, it looks as if we have 96% saying yes, and the 4% are not voting members. And so it looks as if Dawn Gray is now part of our nominating committee. Thank you so much, Dawn, for voting to do that. Okay. Next, we have a scholarship committee report. And I would like to turn this over to Kay Armstrong. Where are you, Kay? Kay. And I'm going to spotlight you for right now. Okay. And go ahead, Kay.
Okay. Well, I am really happy to be part of the scholarship committee, and it concludes myself, Melanie Ashton, Carmen Hurd, Carol Lindberg, and Mary Bergen. And it is a great group. Our scholarship will hopefully aid those students who are interested in pursuing careers such as in government, history, law, and related topics. During the last several years, we have rotated the award through the Ventura County Junior Colleges, starting with Ventura College, Oxnard College, and Moore Park College. This year, we are planning on adding California State University Channel Islands to the rotation. And our scholarship, someone had asked about that earlier. We've been offering for this rotation a $2,000 award to our scholarship winner. I want to thank you all who have donated to our scholarship fund over the years, because it's because of you that we're able to even offer this scholarship, which I think is really important for the continuation of good statesmanship. And I am really happy to have with us today one of our 2020 winners. There were two from Moore Park, because that was part of the last rotation. And that was Allison Lucas and Jacqueline Meza Garby. And Jacqueline is with us today, and she'll be speaking shortly. Our winner for this year from Ventura College is Shay Trevase, and she will be speaking after Jacqueline. So I have invited each of them to take a few minutes to introduce themselves to you, share their current situation, and hopes for their future. Now, I may not be able to see where Jacqueline is because I only have a small area on my screen that I can see people. So I am going to ask Jacqueline if she will unmute herself and proceed.
Hello, my name's Jacqueline. I'm currently a student at UCSB. I'm currently a poli-sci major as well as a history of public policy and law. I hope to pursue law school, if not work for the UN or EU, NATO, any international organization. I'm very interested in it, or any city or local government. Yeah. And I would also like to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity for the scholarship. It meant a lot to me to win this scholarship. It encouraged me to do better in school, and I just like to thank you guys for it.
Oh, Jacqueline, we are really happy to see you today, and I finally get to see what you look like. This is fabulous.
Yeah.
We were all shut down last year too. So I've spoken with Jacqueline on the phone previously, and so now it's really nice to see her on screen, someday face to face, I hope.
Yes.
Yeah, so now you're going to be able to go back to Santa Barbara in person?
Yes, in the fall.
Okay. So I'm really glad to hear things are going well.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, and now Shay Traverse, our winner from Ventura College.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Shay Travers. Like I said, or I was going to say, I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, for, of course, giving me the opportunity to be here and for offering the scholarship, because it really does mean a lot to me, and I'm sure to everybody who's ever been a recipient of it. So I, of course, am a student at Ventura College. I just graduated with my associate's degree in political science, and this fall I'll be transferring to UCLA. I was talking to Kay a little bit previously about, I had a pretty tough decision to make between UCLA and USC. My family's a bunch of Trojan fans, so it was a pretty tough choice, but I eventually decided on UCLA. My family has struggled for sure in the past, and my mom actually became a single parent when I was 10. So I've always had a big, sort of cloud hanging over me throughout school, because no matter what opportunities you have, it always comes down to money, and it comes down to if you can afford it and things like that. So this is definitely such a blessing to me, and such an honor to receive the scholarship, because it's going to be going straight to those costs for school and things like that. And then once I complete my undergrad at UCLA, my plan is to pursue law school as well. I think I feel really strongly about women in law and women in positions of, legislation and things like that. So I think that is my goal, is to become an attorney or work in the legal field. And yeah.
Thank you, Shay. It's really nice to see you too. And of course, I was a little biased because I went to UCLA, so,
Right.
There we were. And I am hoping both you and Jacqueline will think about joining us at the League, because we need you guys.
Absolutely.
It'd be wonderful to have you as part of us. So now I'm happy to turn the program back over to Betsy, or if you have any questions for me from the scholarship committee, I'd be happy to hear them.
Does anyone have any questions or any comments that they'd like to make?
I just want to make a comment. I've got to say, these students going through their first years of college, or any part of college, but specifically your first year, and doing it all online, is really remarkable. And they've done such a great job, because college experience for my freshman year, it was like a rite of passage, living in a dorm, or people that lived in apartments, and having that transition. So I really admire these students that were able to continue studying at home with whatever family issues are taking place. And it's really remarkable, and they really should pat themselves on the back with the courage and everything that they went through.
I second that.
Yes, excellent. Okay, well, hey, guess what? We are ahead of schedule on our meeting, but I think at this point, I would like to go ahead and recognize our past board members and acknowledge our new board members. So we're going to try this. We hope it works. When I call your name, wait a minute. When I call your name, I would like you to raise your hand so that you will be visible to our membership, hopefully at the top of their page. If you're looking at it in gallery view and you have enough space, you will be able to see the entire board, past and in the present. So I'm going to start with our past board of this past year. Kay Armstrong, Pat Butler, Barbara Doyle, No, raise your artificial hand. Sorry. We thought we had this planned out.
Crucial.
Now, I'm not quite so intense on the timing of this now. So Barbara Doyle, where's your hand?
The bottom of the screen.
The
In
reaction.
Yes, there we go. All right, there we go. Pat Essick. Carol Lindberg. Judy Murphy. Maddie Park. Betsy Patterson, that's me. I'm not sure I need to raise my hand right now. Karen Savitt. Jane Spiller. Why do I feel like I've forgotten somebody? Judy, you have not raised your hand. Raise your artificial hand at the bottom of the page where the reactions are.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm missing some people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Who am I missing, you guys? Oh, well,
Judy, not a thumbs up. You
Yeah.
have to raise your
Oh,
hand.
it's
It's at the bottom.
yeah, it's where you did the thumbs up. You need to raise your hand. Marjorie. And I know what one of the problems is that some of our current board members are not able to be here. So Trudy Wolf is in Wyoming at this time, and she didn't have internet access, I guess, for this meeting. And Marianne Ramos has been serving on our board this year and will not be continuing on. She'll be our liaison with the school district. 2. God, have I missed somebody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and Judy, can you 10, 11, 12? I think that's all of us.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just see if I can raise her hand. I cannot raise her hand. Okay.
Don't seem to have a raised hand option.
Under reactions?
Can you, yeah, it's either under reactions or it's under your name. in the-
Bottom of reactions.
Right. It's
Not
not a line at the top. It's a big button at the bottom of that pop-up.
Sorry, guys.
Thumbs up is okay.
All right, we
Well,
see
you know
talking
who you are.
to you. And at this point now, I would like to, first of all, let me say thank you to all of you for a wonderful year of serving under somewhat difficult circumstances. And we all had to become incredibly proficient, perhaps not as proficient as we could be, with Zoom meetings, because we've held all of our meetings, our committee meetings, our board meetings, all of our meetings this year virtually via Zoom. And I truly appreciate the fact that you've been willing to do that. And we look forward to maybe being able to meet in person shortly. And at this point, I'd like you guys to keep your hands up because you're continuing on the board. And I'd like to welcome our newest, newly elected board members, which will be Patty Chan, Pat Malchek, Kathy Morgan, and the last member, Jan Reaver, is in the mountains and does not have internet access, so she can't join us today. But welcome to our new board members. We are excited to have you here, and it's going to be a terrific year with a lot of work to be done, as I mentioned in the presentation. So at this point, hey, is this great? This is a meeting that is ending a half an hour early. That never happens. So what I would like to do now is have an official motion to adjourn the meeting.
Betsy, before we adjourn, there is one brief item of business that we need to take care of. Essick?
Yes. Betsy, we have, as board members and as the league membership generally. We've been so blessed to have you lead us this year. You've done such an incredible job. You have mastered Zoom. You've created a YouTube channel. Oh my God, things that seem entirely beyond me and most of us. And I really appreciate, we all do, what you've done for us. We want to present our thank you card to you in person at our in and out meeting coming in July, I believe. But we have 2 gift cards for you. I think you might be tired of Bacalli's at the East End of Ohio after last year. So we have one at Jim and Rob's and one at Sage downtown. And I don't know if you've tried it yet, but it has a lot of good sounding vegetarian meals. And it's even open in the evening and they serve wine. So you guys should have a good time. Anyway, we really appreciate you and all that you've done. Thank you.
Thank you all. That's very sweet. Okay. If there's
And now, I'll move to adjourn the meeting.
And do I hear a second?
I second it.
Okay, we're going to do this by everybody taking, unmuting themselves and giving a verbal yay or nay.
Yay.
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 Yay. So at this point, the business meeting is officially adjourned, and I would like to invite you to socialize. You can stay in the meeting room here, or you can go into breakout rooms. If you see an opportunity to go into a breakout room and you do not want to go into a smaller conversation, just stay in the main room. But if you would like to, I am going to start assigning people to breakout rooms, and please socialize and visit with people for as long as you want, and leave the meeting whenever you're happy to leave the meeting. And be aware that secret Zoom elves may move you around from different rooms to just increase the socialization. So we're going to do here, and I'm going to start assigning people.
You want to do it or not?
I'm assigning it. Hang on a second. Yeah, hang on a second.
All right.
And if you want to go, that's fine. If you don't want to go, that's fine also. If you stay here, we'll be chatting among ourselves. And maybe we can take down the slide now, Maddie, so that we can actually see people. Okay. Great, thank you. So please unmute yourself so that you can have a conversation here. And again, let me say thank you, Dawn, for stepping up to be part of our nominating committee. It's a great way to sort of get to know some of our members. And welcome, Ashley. I know you are a new member, and we're so happy to have you here joining us. And please feel free to join in on any of our activities that appeal to you.
Hey.
And Dan, are you still here with us, or did you decide not to go into? Yeah, I guess you're still here with us, not in a breakout room. Is that correct? You're muted. You're muted. This is actually
Another round, a few more people.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I just wanted to be in a bigger group.
Ah, okay. That's fine, and I can move people around. Barbara and Kay and Maddie, you know that you can go into any of the rooms you want to as co-hosts and jump around if you'd like to.
So how many rooms are there?
There are 4 rooms currently.
Okay.
I can put you in a room by yourself if you'd like.
That's
really fun.
Right.
I'm doing that all year.
Yeah, time out, huh? Yeah. That was great that the scholarship recipients were there, Kay. That was really great.
Oh, that was really
that you
nice.
did that. Yeah, it was really nice to hear from them.
And it was nice to actually see what they look like and hear from them. That was great. And I don't know who made the comment back about college, because I couldn't see anything on my screen, but
Oh, it was Dawn.
Cool.
It was Dawn.
That was
Yeah.
great. Great.
And you were going to say something, it sounded like.
No, they were just very inspiring to listen to them. This is wonderful that we're able to do this.
Yeah, well, and we got through a meeting on Zoom, which it was not without some meetings.
So I was curious, Barbara, when did they join? Because I sent them all notes saying, oh, I think we're moving really fast. And they said they were already there.
Yeah, they were already there, but it was well after the meeting had started, but it all worked out great. Yeah. And
Because I
Betsy
couldn't
was
see their
letting,
names on anything. So
right.
Barbara, I'm sorry I took your job away from you, but it was coming up on my screen and I didn't know whether it'd be part of the recording or not. So I wanted to get it off of my screen.
No, that's okay. I was going to say you let most of the people in, and there are a few that I let in. I don't think anyone was in the waiting room for very long, Betsy. I think it all worked out okay.
Okay, who is Santa?
Oh, that would be me. I did some Zoom meetings and sometimes it comes up as Sam instead of my name after I have to rename it all the time.
Yeah. And Dan, I was sending you a chat going, hi, who are you? When all of a sudden you became Dan. So it worked out okay.
Kind of freaks people out a little bit, but yeah, I did. I saw schools that I normally go to on the fringe in Santa, and so I zoomed a couple of elementary schools here. And I don't know why I can't seem to permanently rename different things. So I have to get on and name it before we start wondering who the heck that is.
Yeah, no worries. It was all good. I think we got everybody properly named. It was good.
You know, Dan, you might be able to do that on your Zoom profile. If you go to the website, I think you might be able to change your name there. There's a couple of different ways to do it. I think we've all learned so much about Zoom, but there's still more to learn, right?
Yeah. Ashley, where do you live?
We live in Moore Park. We were in Moore Park for 7 years by the college. Then we moved to Simi for almost 6 years. And now we're back in Moore Park and I'm very happy. So that's where we are.
All right.
We have breezes. We have breezes again. It's not scorching hot. So
that's nice.
We're happy.
Are you guys all Ventura area?
Yeah, I live in Santa Paula.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. It hasn't really made it's different because of being on the Zoom meetings. It doesn't really matter where we live anymore. It's not, it's like you don't have to drive. It's all good.
Right.
I miss having the coffee and the pastries at the hotel though, Kay, right? When we would
that was nice. Yeah. Now it's been a couple of years.
Oh, I know. And I wonder how the hotels are faring without any of us, all people having our meetings and renting those rooms, huh?